Hey everyone, it is Finn here, and Portugal have just released their 26-man squad for the Euros this year. Now, obviously, there's a lot of pressure on Portugal this year, as they are the defending champions of the Euros, winning it in 2016. They've also recently won a Nations League, so you know what, this is a very strong Portuguese team. There's a lot of expectation on them. It's definitely a team full of some great young players, some old players, some players in their prime. So it's going to be interesting to see how Portugal sets up for the Euros this year. So in today's video, we'll be reacting to the full squad from goalkeepers to attackers. Let's get into it. Okay, so here is the Portugal 26-man squad for Euro 2020, which, can we just talk about how insane their group is first of all? Can definitely be classified as the group of death, because they've got teams like Germany, France and Hungary in their group, which I'm going to put forward this prediction. I don't think Hungary are going to survive. I mean, if they're hungry now, they're going to be starving by the end of this. But with a group like this, you expect Portugal to put forward their best players, which, looking at their three goalkeepers, I think they have. They've got the likes of Anthony Lopez, Rui Patricio and Rui Silva as their three goalkeeping options, which I don't have any complaints about this. Obviously, Anthony Lopez has done a solid job for Lyon for many, many years. Rui Patricio, the first Wolves player in this list, which you can't have a Portuguese team without any Wolves players. I mean, Portugal is essentially the Wolverhampton Wanderers Academy at this point. But Rui Patricio, very solid goalkeeping option, does struggle with low, hard-driven shots to the bottom corners. But you know, it's still a very good goalkeeping option, much like third goalkeeper option being Rui Silva has had a great season with Granada. Not necessarily in La Liga, but in terms of the Europa League, made it very, very far. And as a third goalkeeping option, that is not too bad. And talking about not too bad, this Portuguese defense is insane. Starting off with the first defender being João Cancelo, which fantastic season for Manchester City, first of all, and what a versatile defender. He can play as right back, right midfielder, left midfielder, best man at your wedding. This man could do absolutely anything, and I'm not surprised to see him here whatsoever. João Cancelo, it's going to be interesting to see whether he plays on the left or right hand side for Portugal. But next defender is going to be Nelson Semedo. Not that surprised to see him on this list. Obviously a very fast fullback. Defensive ability is not always not always there. But once again, very solid fullback option and probably deserves to be in this squad. Next defender being Jose Font from Lille. Obviously Lille are about to win the French league if they win their final game of the season. And obviously Font was a solid part of that Portugal squad in 2016. So I'm not surprised to see him here whatsoever. Very solid centre-back option, much like the next centre-back being Pepe. Oh, Pepe, hard as nails Pepe, one of the most solid defenders in the world. I mean, he's probably the only player in the world who could beat Zinedine Zidane in a headbutting competition. Pepe, the older he gets, I mean, for Porto this season, he has been absolutely unstoppable. For a man who's like almost 40 years old, I mean, he ages like a fine wine. Or I mean, in terms of being Portuguese, ages like a fine peri-peri, is that a thing? But jokes aside, Pepe, one of the best defenders in the world, even at his age, not surprised to see him here whatsoever. And talking about the best in the world, I've just seen it. Next centre-back option being Ruben Dias, who probably is the best centre-back in the world at the time of recording. He has had a fantastic season with Manchester City. His first season with Manchester City might win the Champions League, obviously Premier League, probably in my opinion, Premier League player of the season, which is looking very good for Portugal, considering probably the two best players in the Premier League this season, bar Harry Kane, has been Bruno Fernandes and Ruben Dias. So looking very strong for Portugal. I would not be surprised whatsoever if they won back-to-back Euros. Ruben Dias, solid centre-back option, and adds a lot of versatility to this Portuguese team, because they could play three really good centre-back options or two centre-back options with two very good fullbacks. And the next defender is going to be Nuno Mendes. Not a player I've heard a lot about. I think he's like 18 years old, playing for Sporting Lisbon, but is in the Sporting team on a regular basis, looking like a very promising young fullback. And the next defender and the final defender on this list is going to be the likes of Rafael Guerreiro from Borussia Dortmund. 5 goals and 10 assists for Dortmund this season. An attacking fullback at its best. I believe that he is one of those really good modern day fullbacks that does not get enough recognition. But guys, that is the defense for Portugal done. And it is looking very, very solid. I'm not sure if there are any big names missing. Obviously, I think maybe the likes of, I believe, Semedo from the likes of Olympiacos is missing from this list. Also maybe Cedric from Arsenal. Those are two very, very good Portuguese defenders. But I don't think many would complain. I think this defense is going to be very, very tricky to get past. Whether they're going to be the best defensive team in the Euros, I'm not too sure, but definitely up there. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the midfielders for Portugal Euro 2020, and midfielder number one, this is where it gets interesting, it is going to be Danilo Pereira. Now, I feel like lots of people might think of Danilo Pereira as more of a defender as opposed to a midfielder, because he has played as a centre-back on multiple occasions for PSG this season. But you know what, his strongest days, I believe, was when he was playing for Porto as a defensive midfielder. So in terms of being a defensive midfield option for Portugal, I feel like there's no one better than Pereira. He probably is the top defensive midfielder option for them, so not surprised to see him in this list whatsoever. Much like the next midfielder, João Palhinha, who I've heard many great things about, but unfortunately I don't really watch the Portuguese league here, so you know what, it's a player I haven't seen too much of, so I'm excited to see him play for Portugal during the Euros. As I said, I've heard great things about him, but I haven't seen him too much. Now, next midfielder is going to be Ruben Neves. What? Another Wolverhampton Wanderer player? How shocking. I think that's just a great example of why I don't have an acting career. But Ruben Neves, obviously a player known for his set pieces and long range abilities. Unfortunately, I do feel like he lacks in terms of his creative ability in the midfield. I feel like he does need to rack his numbers up, and if he can do that in terms of assists and maybe goals, I feel like he would be an unstoppable player. But you know what? He is actually a very good player. He can create chances from time to time. Not too surprised he's in this squad. Talking about not surprised, next midfielder is going to be Bruno Fernandes, top 3 goal scorer and assist maker in the Premier League this season. Yes, please. I think Portugal will take that. I mean, I'm so excited to see Bruno Fernandes play under the likes of Ronaldo for Portugal. I think that is going to be one of the best things to watch. And two titans playing together for Portugal. Going to be unstoppable. Now, I know lots of people are going to say, but Fern, he only scores penalties. Don't make fun of me just because your players can't score penalties. But it's going to be interesting to see for Portugal who takes their penalties. Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes? Or are we going to see a fight situation like Cavani versus Neymar? Let me know actually in the comment section down below. Who do you guys think will take the penalties for Portugal? I do feel like it will be Ronaldo. Now, next midfielder, another Wolves player being João Matinho. Now, I won't lie, I'm somewhat surprised he's in this list. Look, not that I'm saying he's a bad midfielder. I think he's a great midfielder. I do think that he is past his prime. But I do feel like in terms of having experienced players in the squad, because there's lots of youngsters in the squad, in terms of having an experienced player who can really help the young players grow, I feel like João Matinho is an excellent option in this squad. And talking about young players, we've got Renato Sanchez next, who obviously Golden Boy Award in 2016. He was a youngster back then and really had his whole career ahead of him. Unfortunately, he has had a tiny bit of a windy road to this point. Obviously, had a quiet spell at Bayern Munich, was loaned out to Swansea, where he was known for passing a ball to an advertising board, which I don't blame him too much for. I mean, if I was playing for Swansea, I'd rather pass to an advertising board to one of the Swansea strikers. I feel like the advertising board has more of a chance of finishing than one of those strikers. But you know what? He's really turned his career around, has done an excellent job for Lille this season, and does deserve to be back in the squad. Next up, we've got Sergio Oliveira, who, in terms of the Champions League this season, was excellent and was one of the main reasons why Juventus was knocked out. In terms of the Portuguese league itself, his numbers aren't incredible, but you know what, has been a solid player this season, and not surprised to see him here. Now, the final midfielder is going to be William Carvalho from Real Betis. I think this man is a solid defensive midfielder option. I'm still surprised that he's playing for Real Betis. I do feel like he could play for a top side. I do feel like he'll do well at a team like Wolves, like an Everton, maybe a mid-table to higher team like that in the Premier League or something like that. I feel like he's a solid midfielder option. And in terms of the midfield for Portugal, this is fantastic. I mean, they've got such a wide range of players, from attacking midfielders to defensive midfielders to box. I mean, it really changes the system in which they can play their midfield, and because of this, I think they could be absolutely deadly. But ladies and gentlemen, talking about deadly, it is the time you have all been waiting for, the Portuguese attack, which starting off, we've got Pedro Goncalves. Sorry if I can't pronounce any of these names. I'm South African. Please leave me alone. Don't bully me. But Goncalves, or okay, now I'm actually getting worse and worse with my pronunciation. From Sporting Lisbon, has had a fantastic season. I think he has something like 23 goals in the Portuguese league. He has been unstoppable, and in terms of his numbers, his creative ability is going to be a huge threat, and I'm very happy to see him in the squad. Next up, we've got Andre Silva from Eintracht Frankfurt, which, why do not enough people talk about him? There was a stage where he had the same numbers as Erling Haaland in the Bundesliga. I don't understand why no one's really talking about him. I think in terms of a young striker, he's a fantastic option. I think a team like Chelsea, who are currently going for Robert Lewandowski, they should rather go for a player like Andre Silva, who's got fantastic numbers and is still young. I think Andre Silva has had a fantastic season in the Bundesliga and deserves to be here. Next up, we've got Bernardo Silva, another Manchester City player, who, yes, the third Manchester City player on this list. His numbers haven't been fantastic for Manchester City. I'll say this. His numbers have never really been fantastic numbers, but in terms of playing for Portugal, he always shows up. He was the player of the whole tournament in the recent Nations League that they won. So not surprised to see him in this list. A very good winger overall and can play as an attacking midfielder. Next up, we've got Cristiano Ronaldo, CR7, which... do I really have to explain if I think he should be in this list? One of the best in the world, one of the best players of all time, the top goal scorer in Serie A despite being in his mid-30s. I don't think I have to explain myself. I think Cristiano Ronaldo deserves to be in the squad. Next up, we've got Diego Jota from Liverpool, and I'm actually going to be very surprised and I'm interested to see how Portugal line up their attack because they've got so many possibilities. For me personally, I don't know, maybe Cristiano Ronaldo on the left side, Andre Silva as a striker and Jota on the right wing. I don't know, but Jota's been excellent for Liverpool. Obviously injured for a large portion of the season. But when he has been playing, he has been unstoppable. And genuinely, I think a fully fit deserves to be in that Liverpool front three all the time. Fantastic attacker and definitely has shown that this season, and a former Wolverhampton Wanderers player. Next up, we've got the likes of Guedes from Valencia. Once again, pretty much a regular in the squad. Look, his numbers aren't always fantastic. Valencia haven't had a fantastic season, but a regular in the squad, and that's kind of what you want sometimes with your squad. You want to have regulars in your squad. Next up, we've got João Felix, who, once again, Atletico Madrid have had a fantastic season. João Felix has been a huge part of that. His numbers aren't insane yet in terms of a youngster, another golden ball winner in the squad. I feel like, once again, has to get his numbers up, but I feel like he will get there eventually, and not surprised he's in this list. And the final player in this Portuguese team is going to be Rafa Silva, who's played for Portugal on multiple occasions, has won the Euros and the Nations League with Portugal, but has not scored a goal, which is weird in terms of a Portuguese attacker, not scoring a goal after like 20 appearances. But guys, that is the Portuguese national team for Euro 2021. It is an insane team. I think it's a very good team. Whether it's as good as the French national team, I'm not too sure about it, but I think if you look at it in terms of they've got the best defender in the world, they've got the best midfielder in the world, and they've got the best attacker in the world. I think those three things shows quality all over the pitch, and they are a threat to deal with. Now, once again, if you have not seen my French national team reaction, please check it out in the description down below, and tell me where you think Portugal will end in the Euros. I think that we could see a France versus Portugal. No, actually, no, we can't see a France versus Portugal final. They're in the same group together, which I'm so excited to see. I think they could make it very far. But guys, of course, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe down below. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. And can we please get this video to 15 likes? 15. I would really appreciate it. Guys, this has been Finn, FYNN. I need to go wash off this face paint. It is burning. It's like 5 years old. Why did I put this on my face?